Hobgoblins and witches and things that go bump in the night.
Hello and welcome back for Evil Dread.
I'm Lynn,
And I'm Wyeth.
and this week we played one of Wyeth's scary games that I don't like that much.
We tried something new. We went through a scary game together.
Yes, we tried it with Tokidoki whatever, and it didn't work very well because that game is extremely long and pretty boring most of the time. But this one was, let's say, action-packed.
It was a lot more happening. We played Amnesia, a machine for pigs.
A machine for pigs. I don't know, like, that should have... Actually, Wyeth came over and I didn't know what we were playing. And
Yes.
he's like, we're playing Amnesia, a machine for pigs. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a note about the title. Not great. However, it turns out it was extremely literal.
Yep.
It is about a machine, and there are pigs involved. Quite a bit. So, Wyeth, could you tell us a little bit about the background of this game, and maybe some of the plot?
I would love to, since that's how we do it. So, A Machine for Pigs, it's a sequel to the first Amnesia game. I've never played or have watched like walkthroughs. But
What's that about? Is it set in present day?
no, it's still in like 1800s.
Okay.
So this game opens on New Year's Eve, 1899, and you play as Mandus, this wealthy British industrialist.
He varies wildly between being an okay dude and then, like, the worst person who's ever existed.
Yes.
So, like, even when we were in danger, I was, like, cool with it because he definitely deserved death. Like, you do play as him. So, Wyeth played maybe 90% of the time. I played 10% of the time because I'm not good. Listen. I can handle horror movies because I am not in direct control. I am simply a viewer. I am simply a voyeur in this moment, watching as people get butchered and murdered. If I have to control someone to prevent them from getting butchered and murdered, all bets are off, honey. I can't do it. I used to get freaked out because of Kingdom Hearts, because of the beginning when he's on that island, and then it's just him and that giant black monster on the island.
Oh, no.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Well,
I would freak out, I wouldn't do it, and I would spend all my time getting star fruit on that island because I didn't want to continue. So,
just trapped.
Wyeth.
So yes, you play as Mandus, who wakes up at the beginning of the game, discovers...
All their beds have cages on them. Red flag 1. Was that just a thing that was around in Victorian times?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is just him.
A creepy game for atmosphere?
I think this was... The bed cages for him and his children were just a creative choice by Mandus.
Very scary. Let's talk about his kids.
They're missing.
So he has 2 kids, Edwin and Enoch, which, I'd kill my kids too if they were named that. But
Whoa.
Terrible names. But, so the conceit of the game is he's trying to find them.
Yes.
And he hears their ghostly wails throughout the
house.
And yet he's like, they're deaf still alive though.
Yeah.
I'm deaf, gonna just risk my life for the next
They are
6
appearing
hours.
in mirrors and whatnot.
They're running around.
They're running around corners.
Yeah.
Just ahead of you, but they're definitely still alive.
Sure.
And then a man calls on like an intercom, and
he has a lot of phones in his house.
Well, he's like, the game sets him up as this
He's
clever
extremely
inventor.
wealthy. Yeah.
And so there's all these like intercom telephones throughout the house, and a voice gets on at the beginning of the game, contacts Mandus, is like, I know how to save your children.
There's a saboteur who has your children, and they are stuck in the heart of this giant... It's like if Dexter's Laboratory was, like, extremely evil. It's just like he has a labyrinthine factory / laboratory under his home, like, for miles and miles.
Yeah, his home sits on top of his meat packaging plant, which is where
how this is gonna go.
Which is
Meatpacking.
where he accumulated his wealth.
I wonder why, how, what methods is he using? So he's assuming, he wakes up and he's like, shit, my kids definitely just took like the multiple hour-long journey down to the heart of my machinery, like, miles below the earth. And I guess I gotta get them then.
I gotta repair. And so
lots of levers and gears and finding spark plugs and fuses.
Yes, lots of that. So here's a fun fact about me. I hate pigs.
I wasn't aware of this until we were 2 hours into this pig-themed game.
Pigs deeply unsettle me.
I mean, they're not fun.
No,
the little ones are cute.
The little ones are like teacup pigs.
I like them.
And bacon is tasty.
Okay, that's why they hate you. That's why you have a fear of them. You think they're gonna retaliate for your eating habits.
But also knowing that pigs
they'll eat you.
Yeah, they'll eat you.
That's I knew that from
Snatch.
No, I've never seen that movie.
What? It's such a good movie.
No. Hannibal season 3, where Mason and Margot Verger have they're like barons to a pig farming family or whatever, and Mason gets his face eaten off. It was great.
Sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Snatch, the main villain says, "Never trust a pig farmer."
Okay.
And I've taken that to heart.
All right. There's also the amazing episode of Always Sunny where Frank goes, "I've seen a pig eat a man. In fact, I've seen many pigs eat many men."
That sounds...
So, like, don't fall. That's why Dorothy's parents are so freaked out when she falls into the pig pen in Wizard of Oz. They're like, get her out of there. And I'm like, why? But it's because she'll be eaten.
Those pigs were coming for human flesh.
I guess.
Coming for that long pork.
Yeah. So that's another thing I learned from Hannibal. I just kind of picked this up. I don't run in cannibalism circles, but like that's a term for human meat, is long pigs, which is terrifying. Ugh. There's a movie called that or something that I never saw, but...
Nope.
All right.
So Mandus continues the journey straight down into the heart of the machine.
Hell. Basically, when you got lost, it'd be like, oh, find a ladder or a staircase, and you're going the right direction, which we got lost quite a bit.
Quite a bit. And there's all these hints that in the past, Mandus made a trip to Mexico and encountered Aztecs. Weren't in Mexico.
No.
Was it Incan?
It was some kind of ancient tribe, and he found like one of the pyramids.
Yeah, he found a pyramid of...
Aztecs were in Mexico, dude. Mexico City used to be Tenochtitlan.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so he finds some ancient ruins. I think he brings back this thing they keep calling a stone egg.
He brings back an orb,
an artifact.
Which is the one thing that carries over from the first game, apparently.
Oh! Okay, because I didn't know what it was.
So in the Amnesia games, the orbs are Lovecraftian in nature, apparently.
So it's like the Infinity Stones and the Avengers
Something
movies.
like that, but they like grant you like wisdom or like insight into the future.
Oofda.
And so what happened with Mandus is that he got super sick after coming in contact with the orb.
And then he got some ideas.
He did get some ideas.
His wife passed
in childbirth.
Yes. So she's dead. He's like mourning her. He's getting more and more into this North American native ancient I don't know what I'm saying. It's been a long day. Anyway, he's been getting into this orb.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that. So Mandus continues descending through the steampunk netherworld.
Oh God. So we get little hints in the form of notes and his own journal entries, which are like, hey, maybe I should get this gear. And I'm like, sweet, because I never know what to do in games. But the notes are his own journals, kind of, and some others, but also like they're old Victrolas. I've been thinking about that song this entire time that we've been playing it. But they're old Victrolas with wax cylinders, and it's him being interviewed by this professor.
Yeah.
And him, like, describing his worldview, which is insane. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mandus is more and more disillusioned with, like, Victorian society of...
Which, like, same.
Yeah.
Did you see, there was a tweet recently, and it was, like, man in the Victorian era. Doctor, my wife, who has had 17 babies and 0 orgasms this year, will not stop crying. And it was doctor. She must be mad, of course.
Yeah.
She is
I've
clearly
seen that.
insane.
So Mandus has grown disillusioned with Victorian society and how the rich don't care for the needy.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
he begins to scheme.
What's the solution to that?
We need to build up to the reveal and the streets of London
It's
scene.
an extremely slow reveal.
It is.
Like, it's just like, oh, what I assumed was happening was happening. Okay, cool.
So as Mandus descends, he realizes he's not alone.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
There are man-pigs creatures lurking about in the depths.
Yeah. So, it's kind of Island Dr. Moreau-esque, but basically he gets, insane people from Bedlam and orphans and basically people that are rejected and unwanted by society. He messes with them with this chemical compound and basically, like, binds men and pigs to create ungodly, hybrid creatures.
So
that'll run at you.
Yeah, they charge. So Mandus descends. He learns that in order to free his children, he has to turn on the machine. He does it, and well,
his friend is like, "Oh, the saboteur, you've almost got him." And his friend is communicating with him over the telephones or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, your kids are trapped at the bottom. It's flooded. You have to, like, turn on the pumps, get all this stuff, get the machine going and all that, and you can free them. Of course they're not.
And then, yeah, it's realized Mandus is betrayed, and the machine is turned on, and his children are nowhere.
His children have definitely already been killed by him.
Yes.
It's kind of like... It becomes kind of a Fight Club situation, but in, like, old-timey English. So he's like, how betwixt my soul was it rendered
I was misled
in half because of that moment. He is I and I am him, the dark half of my continents.
Yeah.
I read all of the letters in a British accent until I got tired of that.
I tried to get a recording of you doing that.
You did?
But I didn't manage to.
Okay, good.
I regret it.
I was a little tipsy.
You were,
as well.
and for half this game, Lynn was, like, very tipsy and energetic, and then, like, there was, like, a switch thrown, and she just got super serious, like, turn up, lower the lamp, duck, no, get out of there, move, go.
It was getting more intense, dude. There were pigs
Well, I'm glad
in the holes.
I'm glad you were getting into it. So the machine is turned on, and Mandus rises to the streets of London in the elevator.
He realizes that the person telling him to do all this shit is him.
Yeah.
He's just having a disassociative episode or something.
I think, like, the orb,
oh,
like, all the intelligence and all the fear of the future split his personality into the engineer personality.
Okay, because he did say when he turned on the machine, the orb or whoever was talking was like, I have awakened, I have drowned in the bones of the innocent, and the pigs shall put their snouts under your ribs and eat your heart out of your... It was a lot.
So what happens when Mandus gets to the surface?
So what had happened was... Yes, go on.
I was asking you.
That
was a question.
Okay. He gets to the surface. He's like, shit, man. I guess I gotta go and talk to Scotland Yard or something. He's like, I'll get some help up at the surface in London or whatever. All hell is broken loose. To quote Morrissey, there's panic on the streets of London.
Yes.
The man-pigs have been unleashed.
Upon
Can we call them Migs?
The Migs.
The Migs, or...
Isn't that a racial slur for someone? Oh, the Mix.
That's Irish.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, the Migs. We'll go with the Migs. Fine.
Yeah, I'm really... I'm happy that we just didn't, aren't casually throwing around slurs for the Irish.
Yeah, just
Okay.
we try to be racist free for everyone.
Hey, I am Irish. Let's call it reclaiming a slur.
I'm Scotch Irish.
Okay.
So, okay.
So you're a bastard. That's basically.
I'm the best of both worlds. Just
All
really
right.
hate the English.
Yeah, I'm same. After this game, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the man pigs are running around.
They're
you hear the lamentations of the women.
Oh
They're
yeah,
being
wailing and gnashing.
Just eating people.
And
just
dragging
ripping them apart.
them back down into the machine.
It's really terrible. So you're running through trying to find where the hell to go. And the thing I hate about open world games is like I do not have a good sense of direction. I do not know where they are pointing me. Unless there's like an arrow telling me where to run, I don't know where to run. Wyeth did a much better job. So he's like, oh shit, I was the saboteur. I'm also the evil person.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely killed my kids. That sucks.
No.
So now he's gonna have to, it's a loss. We have to go back moment where he goes back into the bowels of this machine.
And he has to...
shit, we didn't talk about the pig church.
Oh yeah.
That was lit. I loved it.
Tell us about it.
So while you're trying to figure out how to get down into the bowels of the thing and going into the factory and everything, you have to go through a church, which is like kind of the roundabout way to get there because a bunch of the doors were locked. You enter the chapel and like like intense,
amazing organ music. It's so good.
It's great. And you like walk down this long ass hallway. Well, I don't know. What is it? Aisle?
Yeah, it's just an aisle.
Okay.
A row between sets of chairs.
I don't go to church.
Aisles are in schoolrooms.
What? Okay. I had to think of like weddings. What does she walk down at a wedding?
An aisle.
An aisle. Okay. You walk down the aisle. Very romantic. You reach a giant cross at the end.
All the iconography in the church has been like usurped by pig imagery.
So the giant crucifix is there's dead pigs hanging off of it. It was crazy. I liked it a lot.
In the stained glass, there was like an Aztec jaguar god standing on pig corpses.
Yeah, and then instead of like saints, there was like machinery.
Yeah,
it's very cool. So you're going back down, and now you're like, all right, instead of fixing everything, I have to ruin everything.
I have
so
to
you're
re-saboteur.
ripping all these pipes out of the walls and shit, and taking gears and throwing. Oh, we did a lot of yeeting.
Yeet. Because you can pick up a lot of stuff and throw it, and just yeet.
A truly, like, beautiful millennial nomenclature derived from
an iconic vine.
An iconic vine where the two girls are in a high school hallway and one girl gives the other a can of pop and she goes, "This bitch empty, yeet," and she just launches it into a group of people.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of yeeting. We would pick up chairs and then just go yeet. Like, it was
throw
great.
them into fireplaces, yeah.
It was awesome. So go on.
So, yeah, Mandus is having to re-sabotage everything, all the while the engineer is no longer speaking to him through the telephone.
It's just in his head.
Yeah, now he's now pleading with Mandus, like, stop, this is what you wanted.
Yes, it's you and me, buddy. We're in this together. I'm your Tyler Durden. It's
This is for the good of the world.
Yes, definitely. Electric pigs.
Oh yeah, there's
that shit
near
at
the
all.
bottom of the world. There were pigs with like Tesla coils sticking out of their backs.
It was awful, and they'd run at you.
And
we only died one time in this game, and that's because you were playing.
I was scared.
I was scared too. Yeah, I think you could tell.
The Tesla, yes, we were screaming.
A little bit.
We were so screaming.
I think we screamed less than Until Dawn, or at least you did.
Until Dawn's a lot more fun.
I agree.
Like,
it's funny and compelling.
It's like a fun amusement ride. This one is stressful.
Yeah, it is. I love Until Dawn. That's the best.
And it's a fun game. And so you get to.
There's a heart on the end of 4 like
5 prongs.
which
electrified prongs.
It's a giant heart also, and it's, I guess, like the center of the machine.
It's probably a pig heart.
Oh my god, that's so scary.
And so
I don't know how it's running a machine. I don't know how a heart is like. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
But so Mandus finally makes it down.
It sounds like you're saying mantis, which is
Mantis.
hilarious because on Always Sunny, Frank has Wyeth just closed his eyes and like licked his lips. Like, for real, are you really bringing this up? But like,
yep.
Danny DeVito has a alter ego called Dr. Mantis Toboggan.
Oh my god!
Call me Mantis. Mantis. Anyway.
So at the very bottom
you electrocute the heart.
Electrocute the heart, and then you descend one final.
Okay, this is when stuff gets amazing. It's really beautiful, and the music is swelling, and you are just like first person, like descending down these steps to this like Aztec pyramid
and
that
like
is everything is
sea
blue.
Of blood, yeah.
There's a sea of blood. There's like, this is clearly like not a real place. It like 5 miles down, it's just kind of like in his head because there's
I thought it was a real place.
It's very ethereal. There's like a bunch of like blue fog and stuff.
Yeah, because it's all like been designed by like the orb influence.
I didn't know anything about the orb lore or whatever, so I thought it was just kind of in his head. But really, the music like kicks into gear. It's really cool.
Jessica Curry, who is
Wyeth listens to scores
a lot. I like me some good soundtracks. When this came out and I watched a playthrough of it, the score like really grabbed me.
It's beautiful.
It's so haunting. The new Century, that's the piece that plays at the end.
Ooh.
With the haunting strings. It's so good.
And all the while, kind of the orb or whatever, the engineer talking about all the horror and bloodshed and death that will await them in this next century. So he's truly just, it's a preventative measure. And it's really, like, it's super well written, the dialogue, I think. It can be a little much. I'm like, okay, just tell me where to get this goddamn gear or whatever, instead of, you know, the breath of babies died upon her cheeks when the spring turned to winter, or whatever, you know? But, like, it's cool. It like, sounds Victorian.
That final speech was just so, like, emotionally impactful.
Wyeth cried. No, he didn't. I'm kidding.
A little tear-eyed, I'll admit. But, like, the engineer references everything from, like, World War One and Hiroshima, just all the genocide in, like, Myanmar. And it's just, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so the game ends with Mandus having his heart torn out, Aztec style, to appease the machine, and the machine falls into slumber.
So he kind of like, he knows that he's his own worst enemy, so he sacrifices himself.
Yeah. Because
they kind of inhabit the same body at this point. All right, so that's that game.
I really liked how it had way more scale than just wandering through machine rooms.
Yeah, I like that too. I didn't expect it. I do think it was desperately in need of some cutscenes. To like, because it was all first person, all like you controlling it. I wanted some other perspectives, and I guess like fleshed out backstory that wasn't just, you know, picking up notes and looking into them, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a similar thing in Until Dawn, but they have, like, there's an introduction, like, short piece that, like, sets the stage and tells you what's going on. This, you wake up and you're like, shit, man, I guess my kids are missing.
I gotta go. Well, this is kind of like the conventions of this kind of first-person horror game. Like, in, the first Amnesia game was a big hit and really kind of set the blueprint, and then other games like Outlast followed that.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, what did you think overall?
I don't know. I thought it was scary, and it had some interesting concepts. Genuinely, I usually think, like, cannibalism horror is like super gross. Like
Yeah.
I'm not usually into it. It's just not really like my favorite type of horror, but I think it was well written enough and well like the scares with like jump scares and stuff were pretty few and far between. It was mostly atmospheric stuff, which I liked. I kind of just wanted the story to be fleshed out a little bit more because I was a little lost some of the time. But I think it might have taken on a few too many threads. You know what I mean? Because you have the colonialism thread, you have the industrialization thread, you have kind of the human-animal hybrid thing, and you also have the eating people, and you also, it's just a little bit like, I wish it was just like a little tighter, a little more focused. But I do like the concepts that was thrown out there.
I'm fine with all themes. I just wish like the gameplay was a little bit more varied. Like
there was a lot of run and get this
go
thing.
here, pull this lever, go back.
Yeah.
Did you feel sorry for the man pigs? Because at one point in the game, you come upon their cells. Yeah. And you see them like sleeping in the fetal position or playing with like children's toys.
I thought it was an interesting way of like humanizing the kind of stock villain, or what, like in games where you just have like one type of enemy or whatever.
Yeah, it could have just been like a Leatherface knockoff chasing you. But the fact that these were once like the dregs of society. Yeah. And now they've been subverted into both a more important role and a more pitiful role is really interesting.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like the concept of chattel and using like either like very low wage labor or something like that to kind of get the dirty work of society done.
I mean, yeah, even though Mandus created them to eat the rich, they are still being used as a labor force.
Totally. I see, that was one thing I didn't understand. He created them to make more human meat,
or to it was to remake society.
Oh, see, I wasn't totally clear. I was like, I thought he made these things to work in his factory to harvest more human meat. Gross. And then he was feeding it to the rich so they would get fat and he would get rich. But then it was like, now we're gonna kill the rich, and I'm like, I don't understand. He was definitely
killing the rich and feeding them back to the rich. The poor he was turning into, well, the poor, because he fed like the orphans, the pipe cleaning children. He fed them to the pigs, but the pigs were mostly, maybe children couldn't be turned into pigs.
Okay.
But the poor were largely made into pigs.
Okay. Gross.
Yeah.
Like, that's my kind of overall verdict. But yeah, I mean, just clearly I was not really following the story aspect, which is like the most important thing for me when it comes to like video games like this. I was worthwhile. I mean, I think you may just watch Sweeney Todd instead. But like, if you like video games, if you like horror games, I don't know, it was fun.
Yeah, I like that it has that. I find it's interesting what it's trying to say, and like the era and just the scope. Yeah, like it's Lovecraftian in an unspec, because usually with Lovecraft it's like it's all eyes and tentacles, and here it's a machine that's larger than humanity. Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting subversion.
I liked it. I just think it was a little too big for its britches. It had too many ideas going on, but it was fun. I'm glad we did it.
I'd like to see a remaster get some better graphics because
Yeah, it's 2013.
It's aged.
That was 5 years ago, Wyeth.
Yeah.
I want to die. That's so long.
It's been a while.
Ugh. Anyway. All right. Other thoughts about Amnesia?
I recommend it. Pigs are awful. Great score.
A really good score. I'm gonna look it up on Spotify. Definitely. It had some really like transcendent moments.
Yeah.
That it transcended the material. I think.
I like that it had other emotions than just fear. Like there was pity.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sadness, and not just like personal, but like global.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
humans, they're awful.
I mean, right, I guess. I don't know. I did not know who was right in this game.
Well,
like, because he would be like, I'm gonna redeem myself. And I'm like, you, like, murdered your twin children? And also, like, thousands of other people.
Yep.
I'm not totally on your side,
Not
bro.
a fan.
I'm like, I'd be definitely fine if you died right now, but, you know. Since we were playing as him, I was like, all right, we can continue, I guess.
Well, there you have it.
Yes.
Amnesia, Machine for Pigs.
A machine for pigs. Weird.
Now, last week, we had a scrambled ending.
Wyeth had to go to church.
That I did.
Did you ever see that Simpsons episode where he's skateboarding and he's like, this is the best day?
Who's he? There's
Homer
a lot of
Simpson?
Well, there's a lot of he's.
Oh my god. Homer is skateboarding and it's like a screenshot and he's like in the air and he's saying, this is the best day of my life and I owe it all to not going to church.
Sounds about right.
That's me like
Homer.
every Sunday. It's great. Yes.
So we unfortunately had to cut short a life-changing discussion. Well, a discussion about life-changing events for Lynn.
Yeah.
So now this week we get to give her due.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ham on personal picks.
More pigs.
What?
Ham.
Stop! No! I'm using it in the Jay-Z way.
What?
Hard as a motherfucker.
I have not heard that one before.
When you go ham, you are going hard as a motherfucker. That's what that means.
I did not know.
So yeah, I have 3 personal picks this week just because I've been watching a lot of media.
Mm-hmm.
So like, don't let me dominate.
I have. Well, after your 3 picks, I have something that we can both discuss because it's very.
Yeah.
I feel emotionally raw.
Can we put yours in the middle of mine?
We can. Yeah.
Okay, let's just take turns. Okay, so as you folks probably know, Wyeth and I are in graduate school.
Yes.
We are getting our
We're
masters. I am at the point where I need to start writing a thesis. So that means I have to write about 60 pages on something that I won't get tired of. I think will be interesting for the next 11 months.
Yes.
So, I was kind of scrambling. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I stumbled upon this series that I had heard of before, but I kind of rediscovered it. It's called the Slumber Party Massacre series, and went from 82 to 1990. There are 3 films. It is kind of remarkable because it's the only slasher franchise with every film at least directed by women. The first 2 were written by women as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at it from a perspective of like, how does this differentiate it from other horror that is male-helmed, that is kind of from a male perspective? How does that make these movies different from the rest of the genre at that time? First movie, pretty good. I liked it. Nothing to write home about. It was written by lesbian feminist activist Rita Mae Brown as a parody.
Rita?
What? Do you mean Reba? What are you saying?
That was a joke.
Okay, alright. I liked it. So Rita Mae Brown she wrote this script as a parody, like a satire.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a scary movie or something. But it was filmed very seriously. So it has a weird mix of tones. It's like the girls are very frank about like looking at Playgirls and stuff, and like, you know, being really open with their sexuality. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of lesbian coding. Like they have a basketball coach who lives with a handy woman. And I'm like, I see what you did there. Okay. But so it's an interesting movie. I ordered the three movie set so I could write about it and I wouldn't have to, rent it from iTunes and all that shit. The second movie, Slumber Party Massacre 2, changed me. It's truly...
If only you all could see the expression, the flurry of expressions. It's like a mixture of pensiveness. There's hope. There's unbridled joy.
It's true. It's just I found a film that I think it was like they reached into my brain and was like, what would Lynn like? And they put it all on the screen. It was a transcendent experience. I kept being like, how is this gonna get better? And it continued to get better. It was insane. So I watched it maybe 3 times and I got it last week. But oh my god. It is written and directed by Deborah Brock. She had never directed a movie before, I don't think. So it's about a group of girls who are in a pop-punk new wave band.
That checks a lot of boxes for you, doesn't it?
All-girl band, and they play neon guitars, and they wear cut-off jean shorts, and they're all super cute and sexy and fun, and I love it. And so they go to one of the girls' parents' condo for the weekend,
naturally,
of course, to practice, because they're a band first and foremost.
Because where band should practice is a condo, definitely.
I agree. In like an abandoned, kind of like Arrested Development style. Like all these condos have not been filled yet. Okay. So they're like the only ones in this neighborhood, in this like new house. But Courtney, the main girl, is the little sister from the first movie. So she's a character that carries through. Okay. Weirdly, even though the tones are extremely different. So Courtney has these like flashbacks to kind of the night her sister went crazy because they were like the neighbors in the first movie who came over and tried to help while the driller killer was like attacking the slumber
driller
party. Killer. Oh honey. Yes.
How have you not... I think you should tell us about the driller killer.
Well, there are 2 different driller killers. 3. And there's a new one in each movie. The first movie, it was a escaped mental patient wearing a Canadian tuxedo and a red t-shirt.
What makes it Canadian?
Denim. Denim on denim. Denim jeans, denim jacket.
I get it, but why is it called Canadian?
Because they're mountain people and they're woodsmen. And so they don't wear real tuxedos. They wear denim because they're working the land. Obviously. They're lumberjacks, Wyeth.
And they're all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're okay. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
I'm just saying they're all right.
Okay. All right, so the first one is like a middle-aged dude with a drill, like a hand drill that's like really long. Yeah. But it's like 2 feet long.
A hand crank drill, not an electric one?
Hand crank drill.
Well, I mean...
And he stabs people.
At least he's mobile that way.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's having fun. He's weirdly racialized, which I think I'm going to talk about. He's definitely not white. So I think that's interesting. Second movie. Oh, honey.
Oh, is this the one that you've been Tumblr in? Oh my god. Lynn has gone full schoolgirl giggle, hands over face.
It's just so good. Okay, alright, okay. So Courtney is having flashbacks to the murders from the first movie. Her sister goes crazy and her sister's in an insane asylum in the second movie.
It happens.
So she's having trouble. She's having these bad dreams. So her sister is coming to her in these dreams in like a padded room and just like crawling toward the camera and saying, Courtney, don't go all the way. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay. Get these good sexual politics of 80s slashers where they're like shaming women for having sex. But anyway, I'm like, solid, good start. She also keeps having flashes of this black leather clad motorcycle guy.
Is it Bobby?
I wish. Oh my god. I have a type. It's gross and very clear.
Yes. Let me let me see if I can check all the boxes. It is a young male bad boy, motorcycle, leather jacket, possibly vampiric, smoking, bad haircut, and the icing on the cake is blood on the face.
You're right.
Slightly bloody.
You really got it, didn't you?
I have it down.
But I also want to be that. I also want to look like that myself.
Yes.
It's very confusing. Do I want to kiss on that person, or do I want to be that person?
Why not both?
Porque no las dos? So they go to the condo. They're practicing. The guys come out, obviously. They're being stupid. Courtney, her grip on reality is continually slipping.
I mean, as someone in grad school, I get it.
She, her friend Susie, is like, I'm getting a pimple, and so Courtney looks at her, and it like becomes half of her face, and then explodes all over Courtney. It's really gross.
Is it as gross as Josh Chan?
No,
Crazy Ex. Okay.
No, because that's like realistic. This one is like upsettingly, like very, very silly. But yeah, Josh Chan and Crazy Ex, that almost made me throw up. I hated that.
I couldn't watch it either.
She takes a bath, the water turns into blood, but
Yes,
every time she like tells her friends or calls the cops, of course it's not happening. She it's her birthday also, so she decides to go all the way with her boyfriend, and he brings her a cake because they're in bed, and she's like she hears the laughter of the driller killer, and she's like, wait, no, and then his drill comes through her boyfriend's chest.
As it does.
And she's like, it's not real, and he's like, does this look like it's not real? And he throws his severed arm on the cake, and it's just like everything I've ever wanted. So this movie,
Blood and cake.
The driller killer has a fantastically filigreed guitar with a drill on the end.
Yes.
That works. And that's how he kills people.
By the same people who made the flaming guitar in Fury Road.
Similar. Very similar.
Yes.
So this guy...
Function and playability.
He's just like... He says shit like... Rock and roll is here to stay, and stuff like that. And he like follows her, and he's like, "Come on, Courtney, I want to go all the way." And it's like really corny, and he does a full musical number.
As I would hope.
He looks like a greaser. He has on guy liner. There's a lot going on.
I noticed by your reaction.
I'll post the goddamn YouTube video that I'm making every single person watch, because it's truly the most transcendent thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's so girly. It's so like over the top 80s campy girly, where everything's in like pink lighting and like over the top, and everything's neon and pastel, and it's very like
80s. It's
super like, not to use this word loosely, but like aesthetic. I know that's corny, but it looks so good.
Would you say it's poetic cinema?
It's very much poetic cinema, but it's just, and it all culminates in the girls and the boys get picked off one by one, obviously. Yeah. There's a super weird moment where like Courtney and the last friend that's alive are in this like construction site running from the driller killer, like on these like planks and shit, like
scaffolding,
like planks like that are undone, not done.
Yeah, scaffolding.
Oh, sure. So I don't know what houses are called, dude. I don't know the parts of them. All right, so she's on a house skeleton. Okay.
The house meat hasn't been installed
No,
yet.
there's no meat yet. It's just skeleton. And so her friend, of course, falls off and is, falls to her death. And she's running from the driller killer. And she turns around, and it's so weird. And he's just, like, hanging out, like, a ways back behind her. Just, like, and he, like, raises his eyebrows, and he's like, "Did you and me, baby?" And he, like, starts, like, snapping.
Oh, my God.
And then he's, like, he, like, does a spoken word, like, 50s love song lyric thing to her. And she's like, "All right, let's do it." And so she grabs, like, a spray can and a lighter and, like, lights him on fire. It's amazing. It's so cool. You think it's over.
You never should.
No, it's not. Her best girlfriend wakes up from the dead and starts laughing in the driller killer's voice. Courtney screams. She wakes up in her bed with her boyfriend. She's like, oh, it never happened. She kisses the boyfriend. The boyfriend turns into the driller killer, and he attacks her, and then she screams again, and she's in a mental institution. So none of it was real, dude.
I hate those endings.
No, it was so good.
Like, that's one of my make or break
really
things for a movie.
The thing is, this movie has no interest in differentiating reality from fantasy. It just doesn't care. It does not care about the rules or any kind of, like, structure. It's the most fun I've had watching a movie in my entire life.
I'm so glad you
I love it so much.
How's the third one?
Haven't watched it yet. I just want to keep watching the second one over and over again, honestly. I've heard it's much darker, and it was the one written by a dude, and it has some, like a girl is in a bathtub, and the driller killer throws in her vibrator while it was plugged in, so she dies via vibrator, and I'm like, sounds like a dude wrote it, right?
Yeah. maybe just toss out the third one. The first two are good to go.
Yeah. So, Slumber Party Massacre 2, truly the campiest, silliest, most fun to look at, amazing movie with the best villain I've ever seen in a movie.
Checked all the boxes.
He never is become scary. He's always so corny and just having a great time. Just camping it up, hamming it up. Love it.
We have... Anna Louise and I have been receiving...
I love how you call her Ana Luis, like Luis Guzman. It's really funny.
That's her name, Anna Louise.
you just say it as like she's a Hispanic man, and I love it. Luis, Ana Luis.
Get the fuck out of here.
Go ahead, Ana Luis. What did she say?
We have been under siege by content from these films.
Don't act like you don't love it. Don't act like you don't love me being all up in your DMs.
We love you.
Thank you. I have to share with other people. If I could allow someone else to feel like I do when I watch that movie,
listen,
I would love that.
All three of us are like that.
I want to share
things
it with
we
people.
love. That's how I've been about The Leftovers for a year. Like,
not gonna do it.
How the street has one way.
All I asked was you guys to watch the musical number video. 3 minutes. 3 of the best minutes of your life.
God.
They composed songs for it. Okay? It is a rockabilly horror comedy musical. All right?
You lost me at rockabilly.
I love rockabilly.
I know.
I
your
love
aesthetic.
it so much. Every day in 9th grade, I wore bright red lipstick, and throughout high school, I dressed in like pinup style. I wore like full poodle skirts.
Nothing about this surprises me.
I look back and I'm like, you really thought you looked good, didn't you, bitch? I didn't, but I was 16 and living my fucking life.
Listen, that's as a 16-year-old, power to you. You knew what you were about. Way more than most kids.
I went from Rizzo to Kylo Ren now in like a span of 10 years. It was great.
Heck of a decade.
I think I just saw Grease too much as a kid.
Ooh.
I love that movie.
I hate Grease.
Don't come for Grease. Grease 2 is even good.
I hate Grease so much.
Can you tell me why?
It makes me uncomfortable. Like the songs where make a girl scream.
Well, duh. I didn't know what that meant when I was 5.
I saw it as an adult for the first time, and I hated it.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it's because you didn't see it as a kid, because then it was just glamorous and fun, and you're singing and dancing with your friends, and it's the 1950s, and people had pompadours and leather jackets.
The musicals I liked as a kid were Fiddler on the Roof. I like my musicals sad.
Just outrageously Jewish. You're like, give me the story of a Jewish family in poverty in Eastern Europe over Greece any day.
Yes.
6-year-old Wyeth is like, if I were a rich man.
29-year-old Wyeth is still if I were a rich man.
Yeah, I think Danny Zuko is like the ground zero for my love and fetishization of motorcycle dudes. Yeah. Yeah.
I also just have a thing against John Travolta.
Me too. I hate him so much. Summer Lovin' had me a blast. Summer Lovin'.
Nope. Nope.
Alright, so basically watch Slumber Party Massacre 2 because I literally cannot communicate how good it makes me feel inside.
I mean, if you all keep up with this podcast, then we will get to hear the evolutionary stages of Lynn's Slumber Party Massacre thesis.
All my this week, my committee was like, yeah, I guess. I was like, can I write about the 3 Slumber Party Massacre movies? And them, who none of them like horror, are just like, yeah.
Listen, go for it.
I'm doing it. I don't give a fuck.
You. Yeah.
I don't care what they... Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a... DMX, baby.
X gonna give it to you.
He gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to... What is that one? What did I keep saying to you while you were playing? Don't give up, you're too strong.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfucker.
We were so scared at one point that Lynn turned on X Gonna Give It To You
mixed with 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton. It was really good. Ding da ding da ding ding da
X Gonna Give It To You. It goes surprisingly well together.
That's at the same BPM. Yeah. That's why.
Oh, that would do it.
Yeah, it's great. All right, tell me about Gravity Falls.
So, over the past 2 weeks, I've binged all 2 seasons of Gravity Falls.
He's asked me multiple times, have you seen Gravity Falls? And both times I'm like, yes, question mark. Yeah.
Just a lot of emotions have happened since then, and I have not, I got so emotionally into this show.
I feel like you're Dipper and I'm Mabel.
I see it. No, I don't.
Okay.
I see me as Dipper,
You're Dipper.
I don't see you as bubbly as Mabel.
Yeah, I just meant loud and obnoxious. But
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I finished it last night, and I ugly cried. I was not I haven't done that since Community ended, which was my show.
Okay.
Lynn just made the most judgmental face after we've been sitting here listening to her talk about her biker fetish.
Okay, go on.
So Gravity Falls is about these 2 preteens who who are shipped off to Oregon to spend a summer with their uncle. Grunkle Stan.
Granduncle.
Who is, I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, I can see that.
He is just cantankerous.
He runs a gift shop,
tourist trap, full of mysteries, and the whole town is basically if Twin Peaks had less violent ghosts, had less violent rape, and more garden gnomes coming alive.
Yeah, it's true. It's very much there's a lot of Twin Peaks references in the show, along with X-Files references.
Yeah.
It's clearly a guy who loves 90s
weirdness,
cult, sci-fi, fantasy horror shows.
Mm-hmm. But the 2 kids, Mabel and Dipper, they're just the purest souls, and they're constantly sacrificing their wishes for each other. It's so precious.
They are very sweet.
I'm just a sucker for both well done animation and also childhood summer nostalgia. And
what about Summerween?
Summerween was a delight and terrifying.
I love the candy monster.
Oh,
he's so scary.
So creepy. The
designs are really cool.
Yeah. This show does not mess around on scary things. The haunted house, the Pacifica Northwest, where they enter the room with all the animal heads and they just start crying blood from their mouths.
Okay. I haven't seen every episode.
Well,
I watched it on cable when it was
okay.
On.
Well, you should go back through.
Okay.
So the whole...
I've seen a few episodes multiple times, but some never,
There's definitely a Shape of Water episode.
Yep, I've seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
Mabel
where
falls in love with the fish man.
Fishman and has to set him free.
Mm-hmm. What's his name? He has a little mustache.
It's like Hernando.
Yeah.
Or something like that. The show has amazing continuity.
Mm-hmm.
It's one big storyline, and a very, very menacing, for a kid's show, a very menacing big bad.
Bill Cipher.
Bill Cipher. A Lovecraftian triangle who wants to unleash chaos upon the world.
He looks like the Illuminati symbol.
He does.
So, he wears a top hat, though. I like the episode where he possesses Dipper.
The sock puppet opera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Can I tell you my favorite character?
Yes.
Mabel's friend who talks like this.
I know who. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name right now.
She's great.
I loved everyone. Even people like kids who are set up to be jerks. Like Pacifica Northwest gets a really good arc.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember her now. She's kind of like the mean girl.
Mm-hmm. Wendy was my favorite character.
Did you not? I find it a little uncomfy, like, just how into. I know, like, young boys have like crushes on older girls and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like it was like, oh yeah, he has a chance, and I'm like, no, he does not. Like, no, not at all. She's an older teen.
Well, she closed that door, but he still had feelings for her.
Okay.
Yeah, Dipper falls hard for a girl who works at the Mystery Shack.
I love Wendy.
Who is my if you have your biker aesthetic, I have my lumberjack girl aesthetic.
Oof, a lot of them are gay, boy.
No,
I hate to burn your bubble, but if she dresses like a lumberjack, she might be a lesbian.
Why are you mean to me in my things?
A lot of guys who wear leather are gay. There's a whole subculture.
I know about leather subculture. I've seen Arrested Development.
Okay. we both picked very counterintuitive types.
Ain't that just the way for a thing? So
you can embody lumberjack girl just like I can embody biker man.
I do like wearing flannel.
What am I wearing right now?
You're wearing flannel.
Yeah, it's comfy.
Now this is weird.
It's comfy. I love it.
It is comfy. So yeah, the creator Alex Hirsch, he's been on the record saying like season 1 was very stressful to make. Like Disney did not support the show at all, and so he knew
it was on Disney XD,
whatever that is now.
It's a supplementary channel.
Ugh. So like, it has a very much limited cult following, and so
there's a lot of weird adults who like. Yeah.
I made the mistake of going on Tumblr because I wanted to find like funny gifs from the show, and
Grunkle Stan though.
Grunkle Stan and his brother.
And Bill Cipher.
Oh, Tumblr loves Bill Cipher as
upsetting.
A human boy with like the most Tumblrific haircut, where it's like shaved on one side and it's like a purple streak in the middle and it's kind of wavy. Just Tumblrific, and I fucking hate that.
Wow. All right. Next week, that's what my hair is going to look like. Just FYI.
Why would you do that?
Just because you're inspiring me.
No. Don't be like the Tumblr.
I won't.
Don't be like the kin.
I am going to get a perm, though. I'm excited. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, the show ended, and I just like ugly cried because.
What happened at the end? Just tell me.
They defeat Bill Cipher.
I've seen the episode where Mabel is trapped in her like heaven.
Yeah.
And everything's cutesy.
So the whole Armageddon lasts for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And that was the middle one. And so they realize that the only way to defeat Bill is to allow him to enter a mind. But the only mind that he wants is a Ford, Stan's brother. Because Ford's like a prodigy and brilliant.
Yeah.
And so Ford agrees to let Bill into his mind, and Bill thinks he's won because Ford supposedly knows how Bill can like exit gravity falls, because apparently he can't. And so he enters the mind and realizes that Stan and Ford have swapped clothes, and he has actually entered Stan's mind.
See, if I was like, oh, so Ford immediately kills himself. He just eats a bullet. It's over.
They get a memory eraser gun and they erase Stan's memories of like the whole summer.
Oh, that sucks.
It's so sad. And they realize that Mabel starts like the kids are crying and they start reading from their journal to try and jog his memory.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens. Until Waddle jumps on his lap and he's like, "Get Waddle off of me."
Oh, I love Waddles.
Oh my god, it's the cutest pig. Come back to pigs.
I guess.
This is the one good pig.
The one good
One
pig,
good
Waddles.
pig. And so the show ends with like all the creatures and all the people that Mabel and Dipper have helped over the summer, and they all wave goodbye to them as the bus driver, voiced by Agent Coop.
Yeah, Con McLaughlin.
Yeah, as they head for home.
Oh, that's cute.
And Wendy gave a letter to Dipper. Says, "If you miss us, just read this." And it just says, "See you next summer."
Oh.
And I just like
Jesus Christ.
cried so hard. I was not expecting that, but it just hit so hard on the homesick. Like, have you ever finished a story and you're like kind of like it's a weird feeling of homesickness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It was like that with nostalgia and just like good people being good to each other.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you found a good show for yourself.
Gravity Falls was so good. Everyone should watch it.
This is the assignment section. This is the homework section.
It really is.
Go home and watch this and get back to us. Even though none of our listeners ever interact with us. Ever.
Aside from your mom,
my mom gives us constant feedback.
I love
all
your
positive.
mom so much. She is a true saint.
The other day she was listening to the one with me, you, and Al, and she was like, "I can't tell you and Al's voices apart very, very easy. You sound very the same." And I was like, "Well, Al's the one. Anytime someone curses, it's Al." Okay. And Mom said, "Well, Al has a shit mouth."
Goodness.
No, because I'm like, it wasn't me. It was definitely Al.
So across the way from Lynn's apartment,
What's
there
happening?
are just flashlights going in and out.
Those people work on that car.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a Watergate situation.
No, I don't think so. I think they're just working on a car engine.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have
Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls.
You done?
So good.
Okay. I have two more because I watched a lot of shit this week and I'm excited about all of it. I'm sorry. I don't want to dominate, but so my second personal pick is called Mayhem. It's a movie by Joe Lynch.
I've been wanting to see it very much. So let's keep.
It's not really like a spoiler movie.
Well, yeah, I know it's all like the Belko experiment, which came out recently.
Yeah, those are like, I didn't see that, but it sounds like it's basically the same plot,
I've
which
heard
sucks.
The Belko experiment is a lot more mean-spirited.
This one's much more fun.
Yeah.
So, directed by Joe Lynch, who did like Wrong Turn 2 or something. This is kind of his like
which
first
is supposed
big one.
to be a pretty good movie.
I don't like those.
The hillbilly horror?
No, and like early 2000s, mid 2000s horror rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like there was a time where it was all very gritty and grainy and mean, and like I can't do a lot of Eli Roth. I can't do Cabin Fever. I can't do I don't want to watch the Jeepers Creepers movies. I don't want to watch Wrong Turn, or it's just, I don't know. It grosses me out. Just even like the cover
is really good,
but
the director's a pedophile, so
yeah.
It's like, fuck.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that's not my era of horror, like early 2000s.
You weren't into the Final Destination?
Those are fun and stupid, but I'm talking about the ones that are like really sweaty and like sepia toned.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you go off on a road trip and you end up somewhere terrible or whatever. I don't like those.
Yeah.
The Hills Have Eyes remake, something like
thanks.
that. No. Also, speaking of, Sam Rockwell's first movie was the movie that Victor Salva got in trouble for raping a child on.
What?
Yeah.
What movie?
Clown House.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
And I mean, it wasn't Sam Rockwell, but
Well,
like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oof.
Can you imagine?
Poor Sam.
Yeah, it was in the late 80s.
Sam is a delight.
We're big Sam Rockwell fans here.
Sam for Sam.
Yeah. Mayhem is about a guy named Derek. And...
Derek!
Played by Stephen Yeun, who...
It's a delight.
From The Walking Dead.
Deserve better.
I agree. He was fantastic in Okja. I am so excited to see him as a leading man in a horror movie.
Yes.
He's so charming and funny and sweet and like righteously angry a lot of the time.
Who's the actor who plays George Takei's role in the new Star Trek?
John Cho.
John Cho and Stephen Yeun deserve way more roles.
I agree. You never see an Asian American male lead in these kinds of movies. Or hardly any kinds of movies, honestly. And John Cho and Stephen Yeun...
John Cho was in some movie recently. That was some indie little drama that was supposed to be fantastic. That was supposed to be like his Patterson.
Ooh, okay, that sounds good. I'll have to look it up. But, like, there are so many Asian male leads who would be, like, leading man movie stars.
Who should be, yeah.
Yeah, if they were given fucking chances. John Cho is a huge... He's on the new Exorcist show on Fox.
I've heard that show is amazing.
I have too. Also Gina Davis.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's good.
So Stephen Yeun doing the most here. This is like him, I think, coming into like movie star.
So I know this movie really hit you in the bloody man fighting spot.
Yes, it did.
Like that box was checked.
He is very beaten up a lot of this movie. That's kind of the main conceit of this movie. Okay, so it opens with you like the screenplay's not too hot.
I've seen a trailer, so yeah. I have the gist of it.
So it starts with like him describing this virus that is like airborne and waterborne, stuff like that. So it's super contagious, but it just completely erases inhibition. So like emotional control is gone. Ew. So if you're horny, you have sex with someone. If you're mad at someone, you beat them up. It's just it just like magnifies normal human emotions to the point where you can't control any of it.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and in the movie they're like, caffeine and antidepressants makes it worse. And I'm like, I'd be fucked then, because like, I'm never not on a lot of both of those. So that would be fun. But so he works for like this huge faceless evil corporation, obviously. And he's kind of coming up in the world because he found the loophole. It's like a law office. He found the loophole that got the first person tried for murder that was infected by this off. So this guy killed somebody while he was infected with this, and Stephen Yeun was like, oh, here's the legal loophole to get them acquitted. Yeah. So basically, but it's called the red eye virus because one of your eyes like goes really bloodshot and red, and it's pretty scary and cool looking. So he gets into some trouble with other people at the office. He has to deny, like, stalling a foreclosure for this lady who comes in, Samara Weaving, who I've seen her in a few things, but she was in this Babysitter or whatever. You know that movie?
No. What? No.
It was the one that came out on Netflix, like, last fall.
Oh, that's right. The horror movie.
Yeah. It was terrible.
That's what I heard.
It wasn't good. But she was in that. She was like an okay part of a very stupid, terrible movie in that, and she's great in this. So he has to deny her that, and she's gonna lose her house, and so she freaks out and like kind of gets taken off by security. So Stephen Yeun gets fired because basically they are pinning some illegal stuff on him. They were like, you're the perfect fall guy for this. So we're going to fire you, and it's going to be all your fault. And he did nothing wrong. It's kind of hard to follow because I don't care about legal jargon or whatever. Yeah. But basically none of that matters because everyone gets infected by this virus. almost immediately after Stephen Yeun gets fired. So they are
going nuts.
Quarantined
Going town.
for 8 hours in this giant building.
So basically a virus version of the Raid.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because he's like, okay, I want to get up to the top floor to kill my boss.
Oh my god, it is the Raid.
Right now, because of the legal precedent I set, I have no responsibility on anything I do when I'm under the influence of this virus. So we're going to do it. And he teams up with that girl. And she's like, I want to kill the bitch who denied me, who got me foreclosed on. He's like, deal. All right, let's do it.
Tangent. The Raid is a movie I could watch like every other day.
It was pretty good.
It's so good.
Wyeth made me and Al watch it.
You
was
wanted to watch it.
Did I?
Yes. Okay. And then you had like a horrible night and left halfway through the second one. Like something came up with like a class.
Yeah.
And like you just like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just bad timing.
So someday we need to finish the second one.
Okay. So to me, it was very much like this could be a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But there are like they're like the first guy that they have to get with, who is the guy who fires everyone, and they call him the Grim Reaper, and he has a cane, and he's just like cold as ice, and he has a key card that can get them to floor 5.
So like a boss.
Yes, and then on floor 5, you have like the second in command, who's this heinous bitch, and she has the key card to get to floor 7, which is where the bosses are. So it's basically them just fighting their way up all these floors. Samara Weaving has a nail gun. Stephen Yeun has like a wrench. It's not. It was covered a lot on like Dread Central and Bloody Disgusting and all that, and they were like, "This is the most violent movie ever," and like it's violent, but a lot of it happens off screen. I was surprised by how much they held back, I guess, just because it was so built up.
Yeah.
Like, they call her like the second boss. They call her like the siren because she's always whispering in the big boss's ear or whatever. And so like you see someone attack her, and then they go back to Stephen Yeun, and then they like hold up her tongue. So you don't see like the actual stuff happen. You know, it's so. I mean, I'm cool with a lot of gore, but some I can't handle.
Yeah,
so I was like,
the fact that they didn't just like, because I feel like if you do too much gore in a certain tone, then it's such a turnoff. Oh yeah. Like there's Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yes, exactly.
Which is everyone knows it's
Evil
fun.
Dead gore is over the top in a fun way, but if it was like hostile gore, no ma'am.
Yeah.
No.
If this was like Ichi the Killer or something.
No.
Nope.
It's so he's basically like he's like blackmailing the boss all the way up and you know, making dirty deals and all this. And it's really just like such a fun, stupid, extremely violent, meaningless movie. Like it changes nothing in terms of cinema or horror movies, but I mean,
it's just a well done, fun movie.
Yeah, it was great. It was so good.
Yeah.
And he's like his relationship with Samara Weaving is really cute, even though they're just like bashing people's heads in together and all that. He's like top 3 bands, go. And then he like shoots someone with a nail gun. She's like, Megadeth, Motorhead, like all this. And he's like, really? I wouldn't expect that from you. And she's like, what do you expect, Dave Matthews? And he's like, Dave Matthews is a wonderful musician, and he puts on a great show, okay? So
listen, we in the post Lady Burl world.
We've talked about Crash by Dave Matthews.
Crash Into Me.
Yes. So it's just kind of a funny, light, silly, like, definitely a satire of corporate culture and just how cutthroat people are.
Very violent Office Space.
Yes, definitely. And like I said, I haven't seen the Belko Experiment, but it sounds almost exactly alike.
Yeah.
But this is more like 28 Days Later Rage Virus introduced.
Yeah, I've heard Mayhem is a lot more fun than Belko.
And genuinely, I think Stephen Yeun, like, this is like a turning point in his career. Let's hope so. Probably, because he's so good and so charismatic and funny and just like leading man material. Loved it.
Good.
All right, so it's only on Shudder.
Oh
I mean, I'm sure you could like rent it
Yeah.
on Amazon or iTunes or whatever, but it's streaming on Shudder right now, which I really like that service. It's pretty good. All right. One more? You don't have another one?
Nope.
To just go in between?
Nope.
I'm just going to talk for like half an hour straight?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So my last one is a Netflix movie called A Futile and Stupid Gesture that came out last week. Have you heard of this?
Only because of you.
Okay. So, A Futile and Stupid Gesture is directed by David Wayne, who did Wet Hot American Summer, which Wyeth won't watch because he thinks it won't have heart, which me and Al have discussed, which is crazy.
No. I asked you if it had heart because it just looks like a nonsensical comedy.
It does.
And then when you said it had heart, I'm like, okay, maybe that is something I'll watch. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Oh, okay.
So you're just out here slandering me.
No, being
wow, okay.
I didn't understand you had changed your mind.
I just think you haven't been listening to me.
Anyway,
just going on.
David Wayne, Wet Hot American Summer, role models, tons of amazing comedy. He's like some great absurdist comedy.
Mm-hmm.
He did The State on MTV with Michael Ian Black and Michael Showalter in the 90s, which I became obsessed with Michael Ian Black when he did I Love the 80s when I was in like 5th grade. I loved it. He was the funniest one on there. That was my favorite show.
Do you still love Michael Ian Black?
Yes, girl. Yes.
Just checking.
He's gay with Adam Scott in the newest season of Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later, and they have a baby, and it's great.
That's precious.
Yes. So, A Futile and Stupid Gesture is about the creation of National Lampoon magazine in the late 60s and through the 70s.
I have heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be pretty good.
It was fantastic. I, like, a lot of times, I will watch something funny and say I'm screaming. Or text someone
you were
I'm
actually screaming.
I was like exclaiming. It had me guffawing. I was like yelling. It was so
We've reached guffawing
funny.
level.
It was so funny. But it's about Doug Kenny, who is the founder of National Lampoon, and he's played by Will Forte with terrible 70s hair. And Will Forte's he's so funny.
Will Forte. If I had to sneak in another recommendation, Last Man on Earth is hilarious.
Cool.
Will Forte is so funny in it.
He's having a great post-SNL career. Yeah. He did this. Do you ever, like, have certain sketches from SNL that, like, get lodged in your brain and you just can't stop thinking, okay.
I've never watched SNL without someone sending me like a link. I've never gone on my way to watch it by myself.
What?
Boy, SNL's never appealed to me.
What? Well, Will Forte did this for Women's History Month. He went on Weekend Update once, I'm gonna say in like 2010 or something, and he did a song called Herstory. And he goes, Mary Tyler Moore threw that hat, Emily Dickinson books, and it just like goes on like that, where he's just like free word associating with like different women.
I can definitely see him doing that. So funny.
But him and Donald Gleason, he plays Henry Beard in this movie, and they met at college in Harvard doing the Harvard Lampoon. Mm-hmm. They meet at a party, which is very similar to the party scene in Animal House at the beginning, where they're introducing themselves to each other, and Henry Beard like points to his name tag, and it says Jesus Christ, not that one, in parentheses. The script is so smart and so funny. So they set up the Lampoon. They have like hell getting investors and stuff like that. They get all these amazing writers, like Natasha Lyonne plays Anne Beats, who was like the one lady who wrote on it, and she was like a writer on SNL for a long time. Okay. And they're all just like insane comedian people who are just like that office. At one point, Michael O'Donoghue like brings a stick of dynamite, and he's like, don't fucking cut my stories anymore. Like, and they have to call the bomb squad, and it's terrible. And he's played by Tom Lennon also, who's Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911. God, you just don't like comedy. I feel like
What?
What?
What? I feel like we move in very different circles.
Okay.
Like, my go-to brand of comedy is the Coen brothers.
Okay.
Lynn just gagged.
No, it didn't.
You audibly retracted your chin into, like, your lower chin enveloped your upper chin.
Stop.
You just, like...
Yeah.
It was like when a typewriter dings and goes back into the other side. That's what your chin did in your reaction to me talking about the Coen brothers.
I'm sorry. The Coen brothers are funny, but for me, it was Whose Line Is It Anyway? I Love the 80s, SNL, The Office.
See, I was
Tim
never
and
allowed
Eric.
to watch any of that, and I grew up on like Raising Arizona and Oh Brother.
Okay. Cool. All right.
So I feel like our childhood building blocks of humor were very
I think so.
Different.
I'm very, like, I was never super into stand-up until I got to college, and then I was like, oh, John Mulaney, he's my stand-up person. I like him, you know? But sketch comedy, I've always loved. Or, like, improv comedy, like...
Mr. Show, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think sketch comedy is so fucking funny. And this is, like, everyone in sketch comedy that's ever lived is in this movie.
Okay.
And Donald Gleason. But he, like, Michael O'Donoghue, like, brings... a bomb to work, and the bomb squad comes up on him, and he's like, rape, don't listen to me, I'm telling you I'm going to rape you. It's really terrible, just like the darkest humor ever.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. They recreate the really iconic cover of National Lampoon where it's a dog with a gun to its head, and it says, if you don't buy this magazine, we'll shoot this dog. And they sold millions of magazines, obviously. But it's so clever and so funny. And Doug Kenny was like, he loved comedy so much, but he couldn't do anything else, and he was never like good enough for his parents. And he always like fucked around on the women he was with, and he was just a very self-destructive person. And it's kind of like a biopic of him, and he quits the Lampoon, like, and goes to Hollywood and writes movies, and he writes Animal House, National Lampoon's Animal House, which is a movie I could transcribe to you if you gave me a notebook right now. Like, wow. I've seen it so many times, and it's just like, that's how I learned what funny was, kind of. I'm like, that is funny. Okay, cool. That's the idea. And then he wrote Caddyshack, but all the while he's very much like going super deep into drugs and stuff like that. But it's a really, really creatively made movie. It's kind of magical realism because we have Martin Mull from Clue and Sabrina the Teenage Witch narrating his older Doug Kenny, but he dies in 1980. So, like,
I'm glad he didn't have to see the rise of Van Wilder.
Oh my god, yeah. He dies while trying to get clean in Hawaii. And there was debate over whether or not it was an accident or a suicide. And Harold Ramis famously said he fell while looking for a place to jump. And it's just, like, the ending is all of these amazing, the funniest people on earth, like, coming together for his funeral and getting into a food fight. Because, like, that's what he would have done. God. And, like, Will Forte is there and he's like, laugh, goddammit, what is this? A funeral? Come on. Like, like, not able to interact with them, but just, like, commanding them to laugh. But, God, it was funny. It was so good. And Donald Gleason's fantastic as this dude. I didn't know this dude existed, but he like co-created the Lampoon with Doug Kenny, and they call him like the oldest 22-year-old man they've ever met.
I get that.
Like, he like continually smokes a pipe, wears blazers, like blue-blooded, like New York City, Upper West Side, like extreme dry humor where he's just never cracks a smile, but he's like incredibly funny. I think like that's basically the outline of the movie, but the moment that sold me and like had me dying was like Doug Kenny's in this interview with kind of like a Charlie Rose type, not actually Charlie Rose, but it's Ed Helms in The Office is playing this guy, and he's like, who inspires you? And Doug Kenny is like, probably the biggest influence on me, the biggest maverick, truly someone who didn't care what society thought of him, didn't care what was socially acceptable. He lived his truth. He went and created his art, and that man was Dracula. And I was like, what? It's so funny. It's truly like the funniest movie I've seen in a long time.
I'll have to check that one out.
Joel McHale plays Chevy Chase. He snorts a lot of coke in this movie.
Oof, that's a lot, especially since
Yep.
Community, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds about right, though.
But
Because Chevy Chase is a fucking nightmare.
oh yeah, definitely. And yeah. He's at one point he goes back to Tom Kenny's house with him and his parents' house. And his parents like hate comedy and like don't approve of him at all. Ooh. And like think he's a failure and all this, even though he's selling millions of magazines and making movies. And they're like talking to Chevy Chase and they're like, I just don't, is this comedy thing even a thing? Like, why couldn't he just have gotten a real job? And Doug Kenny comes in and like hears them, and Chevy Chase is like, I'm gonna go make myself a drink, and then like falls for like 3 minutes making a drink and just like continually like drops things and like falls on his head. And he's like, oh no, oh god, I'm so sorry. Just so like, the parents are completely not amused, but Doug Kenny's like, thank you.
Aww.
It's perfect. It's a perfect movie. It has like a 54% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I have no idea why.
Well, so does The Last Jedi.
I thought that had like a 99 or 90%.
Wait.
That was audience score.
Really?
Yeah.
The critics didn't like this?
No, yeah. I guess it was like 50-50 on A Futile and Stupid Gesture, which is a line from Animal House.
The AV Club gave it a really good review, I think.
That's good. I liked it.
I tend to trust the AV Club.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool to just see like what actually happened in the life of the very, very bit player in Animal House who has the line, well, what the hell we supposed to do, you moron? He has one line in that movie. That's it. My dad would say it all the time when I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh.
So I talked a lot this episode. Sorry.
I guess that about does it.
I guess. You've been at my house since 1 p.m.
I have. I've moved in.
It almost. Is 7:40.
I'm so hungry.
Get out of my home.
I will. Well, thanks for listening. You have a lot of homework this week.
Go enjoy the many, many suggestions.
Media is a gift.
It really is. Just like
consume it wisely.
It's like heroin. I'm just
or water.
Sure.
Good
I'm
media,
mainlining media.
Good media is refreshing.
True. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
Keely behaved like a man demented, obsessed, utterly lost.